Kadikama, and I'm the Executive Director of Law and Society Trust. We are at a very dangerous juncture now in Sri Lanka because we are faced with two laws, two bills that are going to shape and change the democratic system and culture of this country in a very dangerous way. The two laws I'm referring to are the anti-terrorism law and also the online security law. As you all know, we have suffered under the Prevention of Terrorism Act for well over 40 years. It was supposed to be a temporary measure. It has brought us international disrepute, and nationally, it has caused so much of grief. So many people were arrested for years, for decades, incarcerated without a trial, sometimes on false accusations. It has not helped to prevent terrorism, but it has really undermined the civic and human rights of people in this country. Many people, both in the country and overseas, have protested about this. The government agreed to change it or drop the legislation, but what have they come up with? Anti-terror laws, which are even worse. The definition of what is who or what is a terrorist, what are terrorist acts, are so overbroad that almost anything can fall within that ambit. Sri Lanka is signatory to many UN conventions, and those conventions have defined what terrorism means, and we could have used those laws if we needed. But we also have very strong public security laws and a penal code which could also be used to prevent terrorism acts. But we have opted for this law, where almost any act can be determined to be terrorist. The powers of the police and the military to intervene and decide who is guilty or likely to be considered committing a terrorist act are also very broad. The judicial oversight has been removed. If we give up our civic rights in this way, we will cease to be citizens in a democratic country. We have already lived with these laws, and we realize that we should not sit back quietly and see them used against citizens. We also know that anti-terror laws have been used disproportionately against minority communities, first the Tamils, now the Muslims, and this has really caused so much of social disharmony and unrest. There is no way that we can build a nation with these kinds of laws. So I urgently request the government to drop this legislation. We have got too much of bad press for these laws, and we have created too much of disharmony within the country. The second law that I want to speak about is the cybersecurity law, the online control of the cyberspace. Now, we are a country that claims to be part of the digital economy, and we want to be in the 21st century, and now we're using arcane practices to control cyberspace as well. What is an offense under the Cyber Commission is vague, again, overbroad definitions. Anything that may cause religious disharmony, anything that might hurt religious feelings, anything that might cause an affront to public security, these are all offenses under this act. The truth is, this act will chill and even prevent any kind of public discussion on social media on matters of public concern and debate. So now we are very concerned about the economy, corruption, mismanagement. All these issues are the legitimate concerns of ordinary people. And we will be shut out of cyberspace if this law comes into effect. So I think that is one issue. The determination of what is an offense is determined by a presidential commission. That presidential commission is not an independent commission that is created by the Constitutional Council. It is created entirely by the president. He can fill it with friends or party hacks or anyone who wants to promote his own personal agenda. So there is no objective, impartial way of setting up this commission. And this commission again has overbroad powers, and the penalties, jail, imprisonment, five years, ₹1,000,000 as a fine, all this is done really to shut people up. And again, there is no space for these laws in a democratic country. It violates all the human rights conventions that we have signed on to, the International Convention on Political and Civic Rights. It violates our own constitution, which guarantees freedom of expression and communication. And it takes us back into the Stone Ages, where young people, especially, who have the only place to communicate is on social media and to get politically engaged. This is the only space they have, and we are being shut out of this. And at this time of this great economic crisis that we are facing, a crisis that has been brought on by the political class, not by ordinary people, we are being shut out of this space. There's so much of damage in this in our political system, and the only way it can be retrieved is by more civic engagement. They say a country becomes democratic. It's not fit for democracy. It becomes fit only through democracy. And we are now shutting ourselves from this space. So I urge ordinary people to take this seriously. This is your issue. It's not only for civil society. There's so much that is done to discredit civil society, saying these NGOs, they get in the way, they're not patriots. All these names have been used to vilify the civil society, but we are legitimate actors in a democracy, and we should keep that space. Thank you.